Yeah, we are live now. So, first of all, welcome, sir, to that Project Smudge YouTube channel. Actually, this is the first episode of expert series. Actually, because I wanted to, also invite people who are having, considerable experience in the policy sector and disability sector. So that was my because I have various series. Like for example, I have series like narrative from the series from the field. I have a series called chat series where I engage with normal people with disability who are working in the grassroots and also working in the sector. And there was many other series which I had in my mind. That was also book series because there are many authors who are writing in the field of like disability, and they are not getting enough like exposure. So that was also my like intention. So this is first of all, I'm very thankful that you gave us the time to actually have this discussion. And since you have actually considerable amount of experience, whether it be in the public policy sector or you know whether be it from a governmental lens, you have a vast amount of experience. And now post retirement, you are also involved in life coaching and book authorship also, where you are writing things about anxiety and well-being, overall well-being of the person. So I want this session to be a reflection of your journey, and I would like to first initiate that you should like be able to like start your journey from like beginning, how your childhood was like, and then we can move on. Like, so over to you, sir. So please tell us how your childhood was, and like what was the background, family background you were born in.
Thank you very much, Mahavir. I'm very happy to be here. And let me congratulate you for having this kind of series, very important on policy matters. And you being a person with disability, you have taken up this important task. And I'm sure I'm very happy that leaders like you are coming up in the disability field itself rather than waiting for somebody else to guide the disabled sector. I expect that younger generation from your own disabled sector come up and lead yourself, and you all have the potential. In fact, I have seen all of you in the leadership program which was conducted by NCP maybe it was a year or 2 years back. I could see very brilliant young leaders and who are working, doing a lot of good research at the ground level and try to collect data and see where you all stand. And I'm sure you're all going in the right direction. And I also see that your focus is not only on the disabled sector, but also the broad policy, even beyond the disabled sector, because we have to so much to learn from various sectors, and every knowledge input helps us in our own life, not only personally, but also socially. As to your first main question regarding my early childhood, I should say I'm I'm really blessed to have parents, fine parents, who are so caring. I'm sure that all parents are so. And my mother always expected that we all follow the right path, always talking about truth and honesty. Whenever we deviated, she used to remind us. And as for his father, uh, he was very broad minded. He always expected that education of children will make them stand on their feet. And both of them have been medical practitioners, and we had the best of knowledge and experience from them. In fact, in the school days itself, when father had probably he was just beginning to have blood pressure or some other little ailments because of too much of hectic. He was a person who was a person who had about 4 to 5 clinics around his place. He was one of the first doctors in that area, and he used to be a workaholic. And maybe he developed some problems, but at the right time, instead of taking medicines, he got exposed to naturopathy and yoga. So whatever he followed, naturopathy is basically your lifestyle, what you eat, uh, your sleeping, your exercise, all these are there. And yoga, yoga and meditation, pranayama. So when he got exposed to it and he found benefits in his own self, even without taking medication, with change in lifestyle, he was able to improve himself. And he ensured that all of us practice along with him. For instance, whenever he is doing yoga in the morning, he expected his children to join him and do yoga before going to school. So, in the initial stages itself, I got exposed to yoga, meditation, naturopathy, which helped me. I continue to practice, not only in school, college, even in profession, even now, because I find it is very, very important, more relevant now when we are all exposed to a lot of fast life, fast food, everything that is tempting us. So, uh, in addition to this, father, he was he had a vision at that time. It was in some 1960, middle 60s, that he felt that English education is very important because if you study in your own regional language, you will be limited to your own region. Whereas if you study Hindi, maybe you'll be limited to your own country. Whereas if you study English, you can go even beyond your country. So he had that vision, and at the age of 5, he admitted me in a boarding English convent school away from my home 20 kilometers. So you can imagine, at the age of 5, I was away from parents, and for 5 years, I was in that boarding school, learning English and many other subjects. I had very good time there, and probably keeping away from parents, interacting with my friends, everybody probably that helped me to be a little more confident to handle myself. So he gave the best of education. Apart from being here in the convent school, later on we shifted to the city, that is Hyderabad, where he again put us in the best of schools in English. Uh, I did my secondary and higher secondary. And in the beginning, it was very tough. Sometimes I used to bunk classes. But then slowly, father said he was so strong disciplinarian. He ensured that I get up early morning instead of studying at night, which happens these days with all many of the younger generation. He said, at night, if you study and you're in a sleeping mode, then your absorption will be less. So what you do, eat early, sleep early, get up early, and with a fresh mind when the whole world is still sleeping, whatever you study gets absorbed easily. So that practice of getting up at 4:30 continued with me. And when I get up for 2 hours, I used to revise my lessons. After that, yoga. And he also ensured that we remain silent at home throughout before going to school and after coming. We talk only probably through sign language, no more commotion, noise. That helped us to maintain a kind of discipline and calmness of mind in whatever we do. And he also, it's not just enough that he put us in good schools. He used to interact with my teachers. I never knew when he's coming, when he's doing that. But on return, he used to explain to me that he spoke to my teachers, got my feedback, and he used to ask them what newspaper my child should study, what subjects he should improve upon, and what subjects are important for if he has to go for civil citizen examination and things like. So he always kept a watch on my progress, and he knew what subjects I'm interested in. He used to discuss with me, and then plan even future. It was so easy for me that I did not have to even decide which school I have to study, which college I have to go, what course I have to pursue. Then, even by being in Hyderabad, he visited Chennai and he found that Laila College, Chennai, is the best college in Chennai. And I was admitted there. I did my graduation there, history. And my studies were very good. And there, in fact, I should tell you, I encountered one of my colleagues. Even though in the first 2 years I came first in the class, in the third year, the blind child, my classmate, he overtook me. He used to use braille, and he got more marks than me. Then I realized that the person with disability are no less than a person without disability. And after that, father shifted me to Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, for my post graduation, and he felt that by studying here, I would be able to concentrate on my civil services examination. And this
Correct.
boy who was blind in my college, he also chased me to JNU, and in JNU I did MPhil. And but he from JNU he proceeded further to UK and did his PhD. And
Correct.
so this is one example. It is very strong in my mind even before I joined the disability sector, that how a person with disability can perform. Just that
Correct.
opportunities have to be given to them. So
Correct.
I completed my post graduation in JNU on international politics. Then I registered for MPhil in Chinese studies. I completed my dissertation. I submitted my dissertation, got MPhil, and meanwhile I got into the civil services. And further expected that civil services is should be my aim, because he felt that that is the opportunity that we get to serve the country well, and know their problems and also serve honestly. Uh, Serving the people is what he felt that that is a good chance you get when you join civil services. I blindly followed him. I felt that what he is saying is totally right, and therefore I wrote the examination. And in the first attempt, even though first attempt I thought, let me just see where I stand, but then I made it, even though not into the IAS, but the in central services. But I was not disappointed, because this is where we always falter sometimes, because we think that what others are thinking about us. But I felt that
Correct.
compared to people who are without jobs, you are getting something.
Hmm.
That is one
Hmm.
thing we have to be keep in mind. And second thing is that every job in the at the national level is a challenge. Nothing is big or small. Yes, true that
Correct.
the IAs, they have opportunity to work at the district level. In fact, they work for 8 years and they have to come back to the state secretariat. Whereas in my assignment, I was appointed straight to the central secretariat. In fact, some of the officers, IAS officers from state, they also come on deputation to central government, where I've been working for 5 years. Uh, and
Correct.
then after 5 years, they have to go back. That is the deputation they have. So, whereas in my case, the appointment is only in the central ministries and departments. And throughout my career, we keep getting shifted from one ministry to another, so that we get our experience and also we can contribute. So, central government secretariat is where it is an institutional memory. Whatever law, policies, or programs are there, this cadre, where in service which I've joined, is a cadre which helps to retain the memory. It's all in files, but then individuals play a role in continuing the
So,
memory,
in
in
order,
helping,
for,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, in
for
helping
the
the senior officers and ministers.
yeah,
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 go on.
yeah. So you went for like which training institute you went to actually? Was it like based in Dehradun, like that is your training institute while you were like training for
No, yeah. In fact, are you talking about the training in the civil
yeah,
services?
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So we have Institute for Secretariat Training and Management, Delhi.
Okay, fine.
So for our cadre, the training is there for about it was there for about a year or so, and detailed training is given in all rules and regulations and laws and policies that are being followed. And plus,
Yes,
you have two other components where you have village attachment.
correct.
And my team was attached to Ahmednagar, Maharashtra. We were
Hmm.
there for about a month, and
Yeah,
we had to interact with all the village heads and also people to understand what is the problem and how they are solving the problems. And we had to submit a report and make a presentation. And
hmm.
then, in addition to that, there was Bharat Darshan. They
Correct,
used to take us to one part of the country to understand how the culture and the people of that area. So this was, and also there was on the job training. Even
correct.
before we completed the training, we had to be posted in a particular ministry for 1 month to understand
Hmm.
how files are being operated, how files are opened, how files are put up, how
Hmm.
matters are examined, and what are the levels of channels of submission, and who takes
Correct.
what decisions. So we are exposed to all this, and this is the foundational course, because of which we were able to handle all other issues after we completed the training.
So was it like like for example, which ministry you were like first deputed to when you were like
Yeah, in fact, I was deputed to Information Broadcasting Ministry. That is the first
correct,
ministry which I was posted. So,
correct.
on-the-job training was my posting there, and
Hmm.
I had to be attached to junior officers and senior officers to understand how the working happens.
Correct.
And it is totally different from what we learn in school and college.
So can you give a like example how it is like?
Yeah, for instance, there is a file. There's a
Correct.
file. Yeah, you have to open a file, and there's a note sheet, and noting is done. Supposing there's a letter from a public on grievance. Suppose they say that since I have posted already radio, they say there is no radio station in our
Hmm.
district. So that kind of grievance, when it comes, that that is called receipt, that is put on file, and the note sheet, whatever is mentioned in the receipt, the complaint, we explain in the note sheet, and we also suggest what is to be done, and then the that file goes to the minister, and minister will decide whether there's a need to set up a radio station. Maybe he will send the file to the engineers and
Hmm.
other people and see whether the network which is already there, the nearby transmitter is working for the district or not. And if they say that it is required, depending on the population and all that, then minister takes a decision that the radio station has to be set up. Once the minister decides, then the engineers start working on that. They set up the station, they recruit people, and then the radio station starts operating.
Hmm. So so when you were like deputed or like posted to like disability sector in that sense, like Department of
Yeah.
Person with
So
Disability.
right. So after working in Information Broadcasting Ministry,
Yeah,
on promotion, I was transferred to Ministry of Consumer Affairs.
Consumer
I was
Affairs, right?
handling, yeah, I was handling a law which is called Essential Commodities Act. We had to make some amendments in the act and all that. So it was a very nice department I was exposed to, and I was
Correct.
very settled down. I was very comfortable. Meanwhile, I got a call from National Human Rights Commission that
Hmm.
they wanted an officer who could be attached to the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. That
Correct.
time, Justice M.N. Venkatchalaya was there. He was retired
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Chief Justice of India, and he was posted as the chairman of NHRC. So
Mm.
his private secretary was going abroad for studies, and they wanted that I should join. So it was a very comfortable for me to remain in the consumer affairs, but I opted out of the comfort zone because it was a totally new kind of assignment to work with a retired Chief Justice of India because
Correct.
I did not know what they would expect of me. But then I took it as a challenge, and I worked in the National Women's Commission. In fact, there I got exposed to a lot of issues like rights of persons who are in prisons, persons who are getting treatment in the mental hospitals, and also persons with disabilities. In fact, there was
Correct.
a research section which handled connected with disability. So after the NHRC, then I
Mm.
shifted to Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Health.
Health. Okay.
Yeah, there I handled subjects like mental health,
Okay.
National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore, where you are placed. I'm sure you must have heard of NIMANS.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, that is the premier institution dealing with mental health. In fact, it's one of the best institutions in the whole of Asia. And also, I dealt with All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysore, which dealt with
Mm.
the hearing impairment problem, disabilities again. So this is mental health, disability. I handle public health like tobacco control, hygiene, and there were some other institutions. Then I
Mm.
also handled medical education and dental education. So this is the exposure I got. After completing about 10 years, I was posted to Cabinet Secretariat, uh, which which serves the Prime Minister's office. There, I was there for 2 years, and then I was posted to Ministry of Social Justice Empowerment in 2012. So that time the disability was a small section. It was part of the ministry because there was one secretary who was to handle five subjects: uh,
Mm.
scheduled caste, OBC, senior citizen, drug addiction, and disability. Which means
Yeah.
the secretary was giving only 20% of attention to disability.
Disability.
So
They were
so
like other categories.
right. So he had to devote time to all other categories. In addition to that, 20%, because if you calculate the five categories, so 5%, 20% to each category. That is how
Mm.
our sector was getting that much attention. Now,
Mm.
after I joined in April 2012, in the next
20.
month itself, in May 2012, they created a department in the
Correct.
same ministry. It
Mm.
was called Department of Disability Affairs,
Correct.
and which means that secretary will be handling only disability. So we have one
Mm.
secretary who will handle those four subjects: scheduled caste, OBC, drug addiction, and senior citizen, and another secretary will handle only disability. So that is
Correct.
the important development that happened, and I was posted in the disability side, and
And also
that is how.
you were instrumental in, also you must have, engaged with the society organizations who are working in this sector by this time.
Yeah, in fact, this was the beginning. In fact, when I joined this department,
Yeah.
there were the most important challenge was the you must have heard of United Nations Convention on the Rights
Correct.
of Persons with Disabilities. So
Correct.
the India uh, was one of the first countries to sign this UN convention. You can call it international treaty.
Correct.
So once you sign it, there are two
Mm.
commitments. One commitment is that you are supposed to submit a report to the United
Correct.
Nations what you're doing in the field of disability. It is called country
Mm.
report. And the second is that the law that you have or you may not have, you have to have a law which is in consonance with the UN Convention of the
Correct.
Rights of Persons with Disabilities. There are about 50 articles in the UN Convention. So the commitment is that not only you have to submit the country report, but you should also amend or create a new law which is in line with the UN Convention.
Correct.
So these are the two challenges which were there before me and the whole department to work on. So that is where I joined this department, and I worked for 10 years from 12 to 21, and it has been a very good journey.
Hmm. So, from the outside purview, I would like to ask one question. Like, for a individuals like us, those who are working in the civil society organizations, working independently, or trying to work parallelly with the government, and in the times where we see that a lot of policy making is done from a very the transparency of the policy making is not very transparent. So what is your advice to the people who are actually trying to make a change and from outside the system? So what is your take on that,
Yeah,
especially in terms of disability?
yeah. As far as my experience, as I said, when I joined, we had to create a law. In fact, there was already a law, Persons with Disabilities Act 1995.
Correct.
So there were two questions. One, either we should amend this law, that means we have
Mhm.
to incorporate certain points, or we should
Correct.
have a totally new law replacing
Yeah.
1995. This is the so in this process, lot of consultation happened
Correct.
at the national level, at state level, with
Mm.
state governments, with NGOs, with intellectuals. It was a long process of 2 3 years. So
Mm.
it's only on the basis of deep consultation that this law was drafted. So even in the law which has been drafted,
Mm.
there is a lot of provision that people from outside are to be included in the committees, like
Mm.
Central Advisory Board, which is headed by the minister. You have people from civil society organizations from the civil sector who can
So
contribute.
how did you
So
like reach out? Did like it was it like mutual, or like you made that, or what was the process like? Like you reached out,
uh,
or like they reached out? How was the like communication?
yeah, in fact, we involved the state governments
Correct.
initially, and state
Mm.
governments at their own level, even though our representative used to be there, but state government organized detailed meetings of their own officers from various departments, and also they involved a lot of NGOs who are working in
Mm.
disability sector, in education sector, in social, many other social sectors, and then they
Correct.
got the inputs, recommendations, and then
Mm.
all those recommendations were discussed at the national level, national
Correct.
consultation, and on the basis of that, then the ministry had to take a final decision because there are many things in the law we cannot put them in detail like in the constitution.
Correct.
Constitution of India, it gives only a very general kind of thing, and you can
Mm.
have many other laws or policies and things like. Therefore, the law of 2016 was framed in such a way that is very practical, and on the basis of that, you can come out in detail more through instructions, executive instructions, and orders.
And I was going through your like details and biography. You also worked in the project of UDID, and that is something which I also worked in Jharkhand trying to. So, what was your experience like when you
Yeah,
were like in
that's right.
UDID
Uh,
and
in
things?
fact, a disability certificate is a
Correct,
passport. It is a passport for getting any government benefits.
correct,
Without that, you cannot uh, apply for any benefits, even if it means uh, bus concession or train concession or a
correct.
government job or to get a wheelchair. For all these
Hmm.
things, disability certificate is very important. So
Correct.
the procedure which has been there from beginning, 95 or
Hmm.
so, is that the district medical officer, he
Correct.
is the authority who has to give the assess the person's disability. It can be locomotor, it can be visual, hearing, or mental illness, and give the certificate. So,
Hmm.
so the person with disability will go there one visit. He'll make an application. Then
Hmm.
next time he'll be asked to come for the assessment, and then again he has to go third time to get the certificate. So
Correct.
this may take 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, depending on the availability of doctors and all that. So this is
Hmm.
what they have been following, and we do not know. Many times there could be a lot of delay. So there was no mechanism at the state level or central level to see
Hmm.
how many applications are coming and how much time they're taking. So
Hmm.
since since the information technologies was developing slowly, we took advantage of that, and we felt that let us make it online portal at the national
Correct.
level, so that
Hmm.
whatever applications are there in different districts, we'll be able to know how many
Hmm.
applications are pending, how much time they're taking. So monitoring can happen at the national level and also at the state level. The
Correct.
state social justice department can also oversee whether the certificates are being given in time or not, or what problems they have. Sometimes they may not have some professionals. So
Hmm.
in that case, if the state government comes to know, they'll be able to mobilize. So these are
Correct.
the main issues. And then there's no data. We
Correct.
do not know how many persons are there in each district. So
Correct.
the UDD purpose of UDD, Unique Disability Identity Project,
Correct.
by way of giving a card like Aadhaar card, you have a national level numbers. You can know how many have been issued. Same way, the central government thought that we will prepare a software, and same software will be used by the district authorities, and they'll
Hmm.
follow the same procedure of assessment and certification. But this time,
Correct.
they will give the certificate online. So
Correct.
here, the what happens is that the person with disabilities will be able to
Hmm.
visit only once. First time
Correct.
he'll be apply online instead of going there physically, and second he will go and get himself assessed. And third
Hmm.
time he need not go to collect it; it is there already online. Online, you have two things. One is the whole of certificate is there, disability certificate, which gives all the information, what is your disability, percentage, everything, maybe address and all that. But a card is there, like your Aadhaar card, which will give briefly what is your name, what is the type of disability, what is the percentage. So on
Correct.
that, you have a national level numbering. By reading that number, like the driving license, you'll be able
Hmm.
to know from which state, which district the card has been issued, and what is your year of birth, what is the type of disability. The codes are there, about 13-digit codes. So you'll be
Hmm.
able to really know how many
Yeah.
persons with disabilities, like visual disabilities, are there in a particular district by just seeing the number. So
Hmm.
the portal, it is like, census gives us data every 10 years. But then
Correct.
this portal, as and when the persons with disabilities who already have disability certificate, or they get enrolled here, then you have the real-time data. From time
Correct.
to time, you have the updated data. We don't have to wait for every 10 years. The data which is there at every state level, district level, and national level is the data which will be useful for the policymakers to see whether if there are a lot of persons with visual disabilities in a particular district, whether any
Hmm.
particular school is required for them. Now, these days, we are talking about inclusive education, but even other facilities which can be created for them, that will be
Correct.
very useful for the policymakers. So this is one way of basically ensuring that the disability certificate is issued in time and data is also maintained. Now, the second phase of UDID, which
Hmm.
was envisaged but it is not started, is the
Correct.
purpose is that whenever a wheelchair is given to a person with disability or a
Correct.
scholarship is given, all the data has to be part of the portal against the
Correct.
person's name. Now, that part is still yet to be done, but if it is done, then
Mm.
we will know clearly what are the benefits a person is getting. And through the portal, even the person can mention what are the
Yeah.
needs that he requires, what is his requirement. Supposing he's in need of a wheelchair, he can mention
Mm.
it in the portal, and the government will know what is the requirement at the district level
Mm.
and state level, national level. Accordingly, they can distribute those kind of items. So this is the main purpose. And another thing, many times the fake certificates are there. So, for
Correct.
instance,
That is a big issue.
UPSC, yeah, UPSC. Supposing a person has applied and they are not sure of the certificate, what they have been doing is that they write a letter to the district authorities to see whether have you issued this. Now, with this portal, if a password is given to UPSC, they can key in and see whether that particular certificate has been issued by appropriate authority in the UDD, through the UDD portal. So
Mm.
it becomes very easy for different recruiting agencies to verify
Mm.
the authenticity of the disability certificate. So this is the whole purpose of UDID,
You did.
and I'm sure that they should complete this process, cover all people who already got certificate, disability certificate in the past, the manual. They all should come on board, and even
Correct.
those who are still not covered so far, who have not been assessed, even they also
Correct.
should come on board, so that everybody gets the benefit of the certificate, and then also they can apply for various policies and schemes of the government
And
in
one
the
major
state.
thing actually, when I was, researching about this, I found out that URID card is actually applicable only for the one department. And like there is like for example, railway passes there, for railway concessions are there, For that separate card is issued by the Ministry of Railway.
No,
So
no,
like
no, yeah, you're right.
yeah, correct, correct.
Now, thing is, why the disability certificate is not made mandatory, even though the government has already said that hereafter it will be mandatory. Thing is,
Yeah,
as long as you do not issue UDID to everybody,
correct.
you cannot make it compulsory. Otherwise,
Yeah,
those people who have not applied or who are still not got it, they'll be deprived of the benefits. So,
correct.
therefore, it is important that everyone should get it. And second thing, as the railways, that they somehow lost faith in some
Hmm.
of the certificates issued by the district authorities. For instance,
Correct.
they say in the hearing impaired category, it becomes
Hmm.
very easy to get a certificate even though you're not a person with disability, hearing disability, or you have very less
Hmm.
degree of disability. So therefore, they
Correct.
decided, since it's a matter of not only job but also even concessions, because a lot of revenue is involved, loss of revenue.
Correct.
So they
Correct.
decided that for whatever benefits they're giving, they'll get it verified. So
Hmm.
they have their own hospitals, so they get it verified for them. As far as hearing impaired, maybe they may not having the right sophisticated equipment.
Correct.
So they refer the candidates to the National Institute, which is in Mumbai, Ali of Hearing Disabilities.
Hmm.
So on the basis of that, they take a final decision whether a person should be given a job or not, or even concession, things like.
Correct.
So this is what is happening. So
Hmm.
the only solution for this is that we have to ensure that the district authorities assess the disabilities correctly, so that this kind of doubt and problems do not arise.
Another issue is that a lot of the district what which I have found that are understaffed in terms of doctors. So like for example, many disability, like for example, mental disability, invisible disability, are not evaluated correctly, and due to that, you don't see many people getting a correct certification in those categories. So, what is your opinion? What can be done to?
Yeah, the thing is, at the district level, if they are not able to solve problems like, for instance, as you said, lack of professionals, they
Yeah.
have to take up with the state level, state health department, And state health department will definitely have solutions. For instance, they can mobilize professionals from the medical colleges, the government medical colleges.
Correct.
Uh, for instance, even if that is not possible in their own area, they can even engage a private doctor or professional. They can notify, say, for instance, they have a shortage of clinical psychologists, if in case you
Mm,
require for this, then you can employ a private person and get it assessed, and then finally the certificate will be issued by the medical superintendent. So these are the different ways of handling, and plus constant training is required. Guidelines are
mm,
there, but training is required for every professional who is into the assessment, so that they do it correctly, because these matters always go to the high court and supreme court. So we have to be very careful that the assessment done is correctly, otherwise it
correct.
will affect the individual.
Because recently the Pooja Khedkar case actually was a big limelight for many people actually. Ki why URID or disability certificate is used for fabricating the information also.
Very
So
correct.
some of the
I mean,
stringent process were taken actually to make
yeah,
it
see,
more.
thing is, this happens not only in disability sector, but in all cases. Like for instance, people who
Correct,
get income certificate or the
correct,
SC,
correct.
ST, OBC, this can happen everywhere. Wherever the
Yeah.
government benefits are there, people
Hmm,
try to misuse it, and it is happening. It is not surprised that it is happening in this sector, because
correct,
it's a matter of employment. So, but only thing is, we have to ensure that our mechanism is foolproof, and it can stand to the test of judicial scrutiny.
correct. So when we were talking, we were also talking about early intervention and early detection of disability. So,
Yeah,
what are the there are many procedures and there are many structures. So, what all things you think is required now? Because what I have seen in like in the villages that a lot of like those disability who are having by birth disability, they are not getting adequately information and the rehabilitation which is needed at that level. So what can be done in terms of early detection and intervention?
in fact, this particular area has been totally neglected,
Correct.
and it should have received priority much earlier. Even now, it is not getting proper attention at the state level. The central government has initiated steps. About early intervention, I should say, like in the health side, whenever a child is born low birth weight or stunted growth, immediately they are given proper treatment, so that the child improves immediately. And
Mm,
also, immunization also happens from time to time. So that is the health side. The district hospital is well equipped as far as health side
correct.
is concerned. They'll also check from time to time fever and malaria and so many other diseases, measles. Whereas disability part, there's no screening. In fact, the child, as soon as the child is born, from the initial stage
Mm,
itself, from time to time, as the child grows, the disability aspects have to be checked from time to time, whether it
correct.
is visual, hearing, locomotor, cognitive.
Yeah.
Now, it is said that in the first 5 years of a child's growth, 80% of the brain is already developed in the first 5 years.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
in case we neglect it, you can imagine
Mm,
that that development remains that much throughout their life.
mm,
So, what the central government has done in the last few years is that the national institutes, which they have about 7, 8 national institutes across the country, even though each institute deals only with one particular disability, like locomotor, hearing, visual, they decided that they will have an early intervention center, and they started. They have already set up in all the institutions, and there are institutions working under the national institutes. They are called composite regional centers. There are about
mm.
25 to 30
CRC.
centers are there. CRCs.
CRCs.
Yeah, they're at the state levels. Even though they are under the central government, but they're
Hmm.
located in the most of the metropolitan states. So
Correct.
in these CRCs also, some centers have been set up already, and some are being set up. Now,
Hmm.
what is the main purpose of this? The
Hmm.
parent, the sooner gets the child here, a
Hmm.
complete checkup is done. You have a pediatrician, you have a clinical psychologist, you have a special educator, you have a physiotherapist, occupational therapist, a group of all the professional team is there, where the child is examined from all angles.
Hmm.
And once they know that yes, this disability is there and it can be improved upon, then the parents are told to bring the child frequently, and
Hmm.
the therapy is given, and the child improves. So
Correct.
here, not only the disability can be reduced, but it can also be eliminated. For instance, a
Hmm.
person with hearing disability, in the first 8 years, if the cochlear implant surgery is done, then a
Correct.
person can hear fully. So
Hmm.
this is part of the government's program where they spend about 5 to 6 lakhs, and the child can hear. So this is where the parents have to be sensitized that they should come to these in early intervention centers as soon as possible, so that they're
Hmm.
told what are the deficiencies, how the intervention can be done. So
Hmm.
it is not just enough that the central government does this. It is necessary
Correct.
that the state governments
Correct.
replicate this model in all the district hospitals.
Correct. Correct.
And,
Because what
and
happens,
that will, yeah.
yeah.
Go on, go on.
So what happens in the district level is that they are like CRCs at the state level, right? So most of the quality rehabilitation or quality checkup is done at the grassroots level. Like Anganwadi workers are there who has
Right.
some sort of orientation to detect disability at the panchayat level. But again, they are not very much well equipped or well paid to actually do all the things. So I feel that it requires a lot more in terms of financial support, because what happens until we don't focus on disability specific areas, we will not be able to mobilize the resources. Because what happens the Anganwadi workers are involved in all the other areas like education and polio thing, and like vaccination things like that. And disability is also one of the thing they are actually dealing with. So what I feel is that it requires a lot more resource mobilization at the state level, which can have dedicated uh, I know there are many, like for example, disability committees are there as per the RPWD Act, but again, they are not very, functional, in a sense that their meetings are not happening at the regular level. So, so what do you feel that can be done, when there is, lack of accountability at the state level? Because center might be having a very good policy, but that is not being replicated at the state level very efficiently.
Yeah, you have
So,
raised the right question. In fact, as far as health is concerned, you have ASHA workers, and
correct,
as far as women and girls nutrition, you have
correct,
Anganwadi workers.
correct,
Whereas
correct,
you don't have a worker for disability sector at the grassroots level.
correct.
So it is very important that such cadre is required, a person who is well aware of the disability matters, and any parent, if can approach that person should be able to tell them where are the facilities available in terms of
Correct.
early intervention, in terms of special education, in terms of
Correct.
applying for scholarships for the child. So these are all, we need one person at the local level, like ASHA worker and workers. But till
Hmm.
such time that is done by the state governments, I think
Hmm.
even ASHA worker, Angani workers should be sensitized
Hmm.
regarding the disability rehabilitation, also what are the facilities available in their
Hmm.
area. It can be government or it can be even NGOs, anybody, so that the parents are able to approach and get timely advice and therapy. So
Hmm.
this is what is lacking, and if this is done, and plus at the district level, just as you
Hmm.
have the district hospital, there
Correct.
I think the state government should set up a small section
Yeah.
relating to rehabilitation, and the parents should be able to go there. There should be a special educator and a psychologist who will be able to assess them and tell them what is the disability and where they can go for therapy and other rehabilitation services.
But problem with these approach is that it requires a lot of budget, right? Because I have seen that after the certification process is done, it is after the social welfare department who looks after the disability affair. But I have also felt that there are a lot of issues which are cross departmental. Like for example, for certification itself, health department and the social welfare department are attached kind of. So what do you think is like the for 5 years down the line? Do you see any departmental synergies in the solving of the these kind of departmental issues? Because what happens, key disability is a cross departmental issue per se, kind of. So what is
Yeah,
your opinion on that?
yeah, it's a very important issue. In fact, budget that you mentioned,
Correct.
as per the Constitution of India, it is not only the state central government which are responsible for the disability sector, even
Correct.
Panchayat Raj institutions and municipalities, they
Correct.
also have the same responsibility in terms of disability. So
Correct.
everyone have to earmark budget. I'm told Karnataka, they've already, I think, allocated 5% of the budget for disability.
Hmm.
We have to see how they're implementing it. But I'm told there is an order
Yeah.
to this effect. And if it is a right step, the first step that is taken, I'm sure that if other states also can do this, sooner or later, implementation happens, the budget, 5% of overall allocation should go to
Correct.
the disability sector.
Yeah. So also you were involved in setting up of a mental health institute in Madhya Pradesh, right? If I'm
That's right.
not wrong, because I
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
So what was the process and what was the context you intervened in that actually?
Yeah. You know very well that the mental illness has been recognized as a disability not only in the present Act of 2016, but also in
Hmm.
1995 Act.
Correct.
Now, we have national institutions, national institutes
Yeah.
dealing with every disability,
Correct.
but there was no national institute relating to mental illness. Yes, we have NIMANS and other mental hospitals dealing with
Hmm.
mental illness, but it is a medical treatment,
Medical
not
kind
the
of based on
rehabilitation.
mental model.
Yeah, not the rehabilitation part, because after
Yeah.
the recovery, after the treatment, medicine is given, when the person is recovering, you need a
Hmm.
particular different counseling and things like. In fact, you also need counseling before a person becomes mentally ill. Like we
Correct.
see the younger generation, people with
Hmm.
anxiety, depression, trying to commit suicide. So
Yeah.
these are things where we are not taking any steps to prevent. Only when things happen to the extreme, they are taking
Yeah.
for the treatment to the mental hospital. So therefore, the department felt there has
Hmm.
to be a separate institution, National Institute of
Hmm.
Mental Health Rehabilitation. So it was
Correct.
decided to set up at Sihor, which is about
Hmm.
50 kilometers away from Bhopal in Madhya Pradesh.
Hmm.
Now, this will uh, just started. It was only a few days back the minister inaugurated the building, even though it
Hmm.
has become an operational sometime back, new building.
Correct.
Maybe because of the elections, they could not, because of the election code of
Hmm.
conduct, they could not inaugurate that time, but it was done last week. So it has been functioning quite some time in another building a temporary building. They already had started courses. So now with the new building, I'm sure they'll not only hold education courses but also provide rehabilitation services, counseling, and things like. And this will the purpose is they can have modules where in
Hmm.
schools and colleges the students are tested from the mental health angle to see where they stand and what kind of counseling is required at the initial stages before it becomes serious. So, like
Hmm.
this, the institution can come out with different projects and modules and research papers to see how the serious problems can be tackled, not only in schools, colleges, but at the community level, at home, even
Hmm.
even the caregivers and parents they also suffer. Even now, professional level also, a lot of burnout is happening, a
Correct.
lot of suicides keep happening. So, a whole community is affected by stress and anxiety. So, this National Institute, I'm sure, because they have some collaboration with certain foreign universities, I'm sure the research and studies should be able to help us to handle this problem in a better way. Otherwise,
Correct.
more serious problems will happen. It may go the way that is happening in the West.
Talking about the mental health, I saw it a lot of means you shared a lot of books actually, and I was going through that you have written like 8 books on mental health and wellness, holistic well-being. So, what was your idea behind it, and how it's like after especially after the retirement, how is your plan to expand that?
Yeah, in fact, my writing skills, I should give credit to my father.
Okay.
In school days itself, he used to tell me to read a newspaper and copy certain passages so that I get used to the vocabulary. He used to ensure that I choose a topic and speak on a Sunday,
Hmm.
trying to speak the language so that my language improves. He also said, write letters to the editor and articles in newspapers. He used to
Hmm.
say, give a talk in radio, give a program in TV, and I used to follow. I used to do that in both school and colleges. So that writing skills helped me uh, to write some articles even on disability, on various other spirituality, other subjects during my career. But
Hmm.
I never thought that I would be writing a book because writing an article
Correct.
is very easy. But writing a book, you need to have a particular theme and uh, go deep into it. Now, after
Hmm.
retirement, my friend Mr. Anuj Dayal, who is now in Delhi Metro, he has been
Hmm.
my colleague from the time we joined government. He has
Hmm.
been, we have been knowing each other for a long time. We have been in touch, and he knew how I've been handling my personal life, and, yoga, meditation, and also professional. So he said, now that you're retired, you
Hmm.
have to do something. You have to share your experiences with all of us so that we learn something. But I ignored. But he was after me. Then
Hmm.
slowly, I decided, okay, let me start with in whatever I know, whatever I learned
Hmm.
from my father and parents. Uh, Prepare a kind of voice message and put on the. We have a group on the WhatsApp group. So that's how
Correct.
it slowly began. And once uh, it began, then I decided to have a YouTube channel. And
Correct.
those voice
Yeah,
messages I
discover
posted.
yourself.
Yeah,
I was
discover
going through
yourself.
that.
I posted them there. And then
Hmm.
slowly, that was very useful for me to transcribe into letter and then make it in the form of a book. So the first book, Practical Tips to a Guided Self-Discovery, that's how it
Hmm.
happened. So that is the first book where I try to say that uh, we, as a person, we are not just the body, we are not just the mind, we
Hmm.
are not the intelligence, but we are the energy or the consciousness. We are
Hmm.
all, we're all these four. Whereas we we think that we are only the body and we neglect the other three. and therefore we are having so many problems. So if we can take care of all these four faculties, then any problem can be solved because the solution lies in any one of these four faculties. So I try to explain this in my first book. And once I wrote this, I felt that there should be another book on the kind of food we eat, what, how often we should eat, when to eat, and exercises, sleep,
Correct.
rest, meditation, prayer, silence. So these are the issues which are very important for us in the time when we are living in stress and anxiety. These are all the real solutions for us. We are not putting it in our lifestyle. So
Correct.
the art of lifestyle is the book which I have written. And
Hmm.
after this, I've written two books. One is entitled Self Awareness, another is Mindfulness. Then
Hmm.
there's a book of on Bhagavad Gita. My father taught a lot of slokas from that in school days. Out of
Correct.
700 slokas, I picked up about 37 slokas and tried to interpret how they are useful in our daily living.
Hmm.
For instance, there's a sloka, Yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmashu, yukta swapna bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Sri Krishna tells
What is the
Arjuna,
meaning?
yeah, he says that even either to become a yogi or even to be a professional, because Arjuna is a fighter like
Correct.
us, we are all professionals like him. He says
Hmm.
to do our work properly, we have to have balance, moderation on four aspects. One, food, yukta ahara.
Hmm.
Viharasya is recreation, food
Hmm.
recreation. Yukta chestas activity, whatever
Hmm.
activity we're doing, like for instance, workplace, moderation. And fourth is swapna, sleep. So
Hmm.
this sloka, we think that Gita is talking only about spirituality, but he's talking
Hmm.
very practical, where he says moderation in food, activity, recreation, and sleep will make us productive.
Hmm.
If you're not balanced, then you cannot achieve your goals.
Correct.
And spirituality, basically, we think that it is something thinking of the outer world, not thinking about the reality. Whereas
Hmm.
Krishna says spirituality is going deep into
Hmm.
every aspect. Going deep into every aspect is spirituality. For instance,
Hmm.
when he talks about food, recreation, all this, now in our present context, the fast food that we're eating,
Hmm.
whether at all is it useful for us,
Correct.
whether too much of consumption of salt, sugar, and oils, is it
Hmm.
useful for our body? So that is where going deep into things. For
Hmm.
instance, mind. Morning we are brushing and we are taking bath, but do we do anything for the mind, control of mind? Now, Arjuna asked this question, which is very relevant for us. He says,
Hmm.
Krishna, I cannot control my mind. It is
Hmm.
as difficult as controlling the wind. Now,
Correct.
Krishna says, you're perfectly right, but it
Hmm.
can still be controlled through abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagya na chuguyate. Abhyasa is practice, vairagya is detachment. Through
Hmm.
practice and detachment, you can control your mind. Now, I will give an example what these two mean. If I
Hmm.
have to become an athlete and my coach says that I have to get up early in the morning,
Hmm.
though I want to sleep and sleep. So I slowly start getting up early morning, 5 o'clock, and every day. So that is the practice. Now, what
Hmm.
is detachment? Detachment is attachment to your sleep, attachment to your friends, attachment to food. The coach says, no, 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 you will not eat that food, you will not eat this, you will not spend too much time with your friends, you have to devote
Hmm.
more time to your. So you are detaching from your things which you really like, fast food, friends, or even smoking, drinking, because now you have to listen to the coach. So that is
Correct.
detachment. So Krishna says by doing this, mind will
Hmm.
slowly come under your control. So
Hmm.
these are the some of the important sloka. Now moderation. Now the new interpretation that I given in the book is moderation in the use of our mobiles,
Hmm.
computers, social media. There also moderation is required.
Correct.
So
That is
that
very
is the book.
important for our generation, especially.
That's right. That's right. I kept that in mind. So these are the books which I have written relating to self-care and self-development, and two books which I have written on disability.
Hmm.
Is one book titled "Letters to Parent of a Child with Disability." My
Hmm.
family said that your department is doing so much, but if the parent doesn't know what are the
Hmm. So,
schemes and
what
facilities,
are
what are the
schemes?
use?
What are
Yeah,
schemes? Correct.
right, because they feel depressed that their child is born disabled. Now, if
Correct.
they are told, if they come to know, have the knowledge of rehabilitation and disability services, then they will have a hope that my child can improve, like success
Hmm.
stories. So I've written this book, Letters to Parent of a Child with Disability, which is on Amazon, which will give
Correct.
all the basic information relating to disability rehabilitation. It is in the form of 15 letters. Like one chapter is on early intervention, another chapter on disability certificate, where to get.
Hmm.
So these are the simple information which will help them to
Hmm.
go to the right place and get therapy and get knowledge about their particular problem. So I am
Correct.
getting it translated into various languages. Already got it translated to Hindi and Tamil, Gujarati.
Hmm.
So other languages like Marathi, Odia, Telugu, Punjabi, Kannada, translations
Hmm.
happened. It is getting printed, and
Correct.
Bengali and Malayalam, the translation is in progress. So I
Hmm.
felt that if I keep it only in English, parents who do not know.
For coming from vernacular language will not benefit from
That's
it
right.
actually.
That's right. So it's a very simple book. They'll be, and I also feel that this book will be very useful for ASHA workers and Anganwadi workers, so that they
Hmm.
know something about the disability. Any
Correct.
parent comes to them, they'll be able to guide them. So
Correct.
if the Ministry of Women and Child or a Health Ministry, if they can
Hmm.
examine to see how this book can be used for their own as a module for their own training, I'm sure it will go a long way to educate them in this basic information.
Correct. So lastly, it is over 1 hour now. I think we can like wrap up. But before going, I would like to ask what is your suggestion to the new age, entrepreneurs and all, professionals who are trying to, make an impact in policy making, because now the actually the structure has little bit changed. Because like for example, I, without getting, into the civil services also, you can contribute in lot of policy making. So what is your opinion on, new age professionals who are trying to make an impact?
Yeah, in fact, outside the government, the
Yeah.
all of us can bring a lot of change. Like for instance, Radio Udan,
Correct.
you're aware of the radio channel being run by Danish Mahajan,
Correct.
who is visually impaired. I think he interviewed you also. He's doing a great work in creating awareness, interviewing the professionals and common people, try to understand what are the problems and try to project them. So it is not only
Correct.
creating awareness, but also you're creating opinion for a
Correct.
future policy making.
Making.
So
Correct.
we have a role to first of all discover the problem. What is the problem that community is facing, parents and the person with disabilities, not only
Yeah.
in their daily living, but also in terms of health or education, employment, at workplace, what are the problems they're facing. So there's a lot to research, to highlight, and tell the public and also put pressure on the government functionaries. In fact, the judiciary is very favorable. The media
Correct.
can play a still bigger role. So all of us, if we can work, it is not necessary that you have to be a policymaker. You
Correct.
can influence, you can ensure, like for instance, the 1995 Act and 2005
Hmm.
Act. These two have come in. because of the
Hmm.
pressure from the community. Otherwise,
Correct.
government on its own probably it would have taken more time
More
because of the
time. Correct.
pressure that we have signed the UN convention. That pressure
Hmm.
was there to do this, and plus even our own organization, civil society, disability people's organization, they have been putting pressure on the government, and
Hmm.
judiciary also was expecting that government should do it. Therefore, we are here, and it has to be a continuous process. It is not
Hmm.
sufficient that the law is there; it will remain in shelf if we don't implement properly. In
Yeah.
fact, there are many provisions in the act which are still yet to be implemented.
Correct.
So, if you can focus on that, and I'm
Yeah.
sure if you can take advantage of the law, and because
Hmm.
now it's a matter of right, and if you can put pressure on government, I'm sure sooner or later a lot of provisions will become a reality, and
Correct.
definitely the rights will become real.
Correct. Because what I felt that key, like laws are there, but in terms of awareness and in terms of users of those provisions are not very efficient. Because when it comes to implementation of policies, lot of stakeholders get involved. And again, data, as you said, key data is very much important for a effective policy implementation. So that is something also we need to work upon. And when we talk about disability, also we have to understand key disability group are not in isolation. They have to work with other groups also. Understanding the larger, policy making and policy frameworks where they can integrate their issues effectively. That is also a very much needed change. What I feel as a young person trying to make a change is important.
Very correct. I fully agree with you. Each of us can play a role in this. In fact, I tell recently I had gone to Jawaharlal Nehru University, my earlier university. Uh, there I told them that if they are in the university, they have to ensure whether the persons with the students with disabilities, all the 21 categories, they are entitled for 5% reservation of seats,
Hmm.
whether it is happening in their own university, whether
Correct.
accessibility is there, whether in the classroom all the requirements of each person with disability are taken care of. So each of us, wherever we are, if we can keep a watch, and not
Hmm.
only in the university, supposing at our own home, in the neighborhood, if there's a child with disability, we should be able to have sufficient knowledge to guide the parent that yes, you can go there and get a disability certificate, and these are the benefits that are available for you and your child. So
Correct.
each of us, if we can be equipped with this knowledge,
Yeah.
definitely will make a lot of difference. It's not necessary that the government has to do. We
Hmm.
all can contribute. Even after retirement, there are many people who are in touch with me. They have certain problems. What I do is
Hmm.
I connect them to the right people, and their problems are able to get solved. So
Correct.
networking with whatever little knowledge resources we have, if you
Yeah.
can be little alert and listen to the problem and try your best to solve it, and there's nothing like it, because that is a great boon for that particular person and for the family.
Yeah, the pooling of resources are very important because there are many information and resources scattered all over internet and other places. If we can, bring these resources at one place and sort of become make it more accessible, then it's more easier for the community to make use of it. So yeah,
Very correct.
it is very important to make that. And thank you for like giving time to us to discuss this because the objective of Project Samaj is to uh, build this community because what happens ki when it comes to disability we talk from one dimensional point of view, but what my objective is to make it more comprehensive and make it more diverse. Like there are many new issues like climate change and accessibility issues which are coming in. New research is required and we need to be more aware about these things in coming times. So that is
In
my
fact,
objective.
in the law, there is a section. I'm not able to remember section 40 or 42. It deals with
Hmm,
human resource development. It
correct.
says that the all the professionals, it can be politicians, teachers, educators, engineers, architects, all have to be uh, educated in the matter of disability. Whatever they go through various courses, the
Yeah,
module on disability has to be there so that they understand what are the rights and what is the requirement, what we are supposed to do for that sector.
yeah.
Lawyers, judges, police officers, everybody need to know about the
Hmm.
law and their requirements so that they become sensitive. That is the most important thing. As long as it doesn't happen, then we'll be lagging behind.
Correct. Thank you, sir, for your precious time, and I hope that you come more often in this platform so we can have more, fruitful engagement in that case.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. But you have your two interns. If they have anything, they can ask.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. I'll make them. One second. I'll, Neha, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm here.
So, do you have any question or any feedback?
Yeah, what is your feedback? And if you have any questions, I'll be able to handle.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The session was really informative, first of all. And my question would be what is your advice for persons without disabilities? How do you ensure that we promote inclusivity in public spaces as well as workspaces? How can we achieve that?
Yeah, they have to be sensitized. They have to be empathetic. Just as I said that in my college, I found my colleague who overtook me in the third year. So they have the capacity, and only thing is they require kind of opportunity. In fact, they don't need support; they can grow on their own. Only thing is those barriers that we created, those have to be lifted. So if the person without disabilities can understand their abilities and they can facilitate removal of barriers, that is sufficient for the person with disability to grow on their own. So it is very much necessary that, in fact, the government, there is a section in the Act connected with awareness generation campaign. So the state government, central government, district authorities, all are supposed to have a rigorous campaign of sensitizing the persons, the whole community, including persons with without disabilities, to tell them what are their rights and entitlements, so that they are able to cooperate in facilitating, fulfilling those rights, and also promoting them. So it is a long way, but I'm sure that if it can start at the school, college, university level, it will make a lot of difference. And if the students who are the future parents, once they are sensitized, I'm sure they will treat their children with disabilities in a better way, and they're able to access all the benefits that are available in time.
Siri
Thank you, sir.
Fatma, do you have any question?
Yeah, first of all, it was a very informative webinar.
Your voice is breaking a bit.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can be a
hello.
little louder.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, now you are audible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, first of all, it was a very brief session. I have enjoyed fully and have gained several knowledges about this um, disabled community. And my question is that how can organization can better promote disability inclusion in hiring process?
Yeah. Can you repeat, Gaurav? Mahavir?
So basically, her question is that how organization can improve in hiring process. Like for example, for person with disability, what can be done in
Acha,
terms of
hiring.
hiring?
Okay. Yeah, it can be in government sector and private sector. In fact, the central government doing its best to have a lot of MOUs with Amazon and various other organizations. In the skill development is something very important. The Ministry of the both our Social Justice Ministry and Skill Development Ministry, they have identified certain skills which are very important for the industry sector. They are really working on that. Only thing is that we need to meet more training partners who can impart the training, and that will help them not only getting into the industry but also self-employment. And
correct.
there are other ways of getting into government also, because many posts when I was there, we identified several posts in government, central government, which are also applicable to state government. So a lot of skills are not only you need formal education, but also various skills at the lower levels. If this is done, definitely hiring in the government sector and also private sector is very much possible. But only thing is it requires very sustained effort, sincere effort, and the scheme that the government has, the skill development, they expecting the partners not only to train them but also ensure placement. So
Correct.
this is a very important. You must have heard of Prime Minister's Daksh portal,
Correct.
DEPWD. That will, is taking care of two components. One is not only helping the persons with disabilities on the portal to apply for skill development, they will be able to know where the skilling can happen. That is the one section. Second thing is the vacancies in the government or any other sector. They are able to, that the second part, where are the vacancies available? Even the employers, they're able to, from that portal, able to catch the persons with disabilities who can be hired. So this portal is a very important portal. I'm sure in the long run it will definitely help. I don't know how it is working now, but the objective is very good, and I'm expecting that this portal should be very helpful and successful.
Hmm. Thank you, sir, for your time. And I feel that it's, I think we need more conversations like this. And I plan to actually bring in more people from various fields to actually discuss, disability as one of the categories. Because what I feel is that we we not, bring in only disability field activists or, experts. I feel that the other mainstream experts can also come in and understand and have their opinion on disability. So that engagement is very important. And again, the second component is the intervention part. Is if we have the data, for example, if we have correct data and correct case study to focus on, then we can also work upon intervention much more effectively. So that is the limited agenda of Project Samaj, and I know it's a very nascent beginning, but I feel it's like it will grow as time comes by.
In
And
fact, data and scientific analysis, these are two very important for policy making.
correct,
Like, for instance, I'll give an example. Uh, Down syndrome, even though it is part of the intellectual disability, there are certain sections of this groups who want that Down syndrome to be recognized as a separate disability,
correct.
not part of intellectual disability overall, so that they get more focus. So I suggested to them that they have to collect some data and also have some sort of scientific analysis, inputs from scientists, and
Correct.
proper reasoning, scientific reasoning is required to influence the policymakers. So
Correct.
if you only just keep on demanding, it's not going to work. With all our
Correct.
data and analysis, we should be able to convince the policymakers. Only then
Hmm.
something fruitful can happen. So
Hmm.
the issues of disability are so complex that we need to go deep into it, and we should be able to convince different people on the basis of the facts and also scientific knowledge. Only then
Correct.
some interventions will be possible.
Correct. So shall we like conclude, sir?
Yeah. So let me thank you for inviting me, and it is a very good initiative engagement with policymakers. You should continue this, and I'm sure that you'll go a long way to gather knowledge from various
Correct.
domains, which will be very useful in the health sector.
Thank you, sir. The pleasure was ours actually to be hosting you, and you are one of the first high-profile guests. I invited. Now I'll try to reach out more.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll be always available.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.